Okay. Madam Clerk, you ready?
Ready.
And Jean? Jean, you're going to do item 7 for us? That's the one on your... Did we put 7 in a block? Oh, okay, so 7 is in the block with Rob, oops, glasses, Marcia. Rob Pierce. Okay, Vaughn, if you would. That's who Kitty wants, or that's who Jean wants. Okay. All right, everybody's ready? Good morning, everyone. Sorry we are delayed this morning, but we had a fire alarm problem, and it was quite noisy here. So we will now call to order the Board of County Commissioners meeting for December 8th. Our chair is working from home today, so I will be chairing in his place. And with that, we would ask, we'll start with a salute to the flag, and we'll ask Commissioner Herman if she will lead us in the salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Herman. And Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Of course. Bob Lucy, Chair via Zoom.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we've just received notice that Bob dropped off because he's having technical difficulties.
Okay.
So you want to give him 5 minutes, or you want to go ahead? All right, let's go ahead. So would you call the roll, please?
I'll continue, and we'll just note for the record when he joins.
Okay.
Vice Chair Marcia Burke-Bigler.
Here?
Kitty Jung via phone.
Present.
Vaughn Hartung.
Here.
Jeannie Herman.
Here.
County Manager Eric Brown. Assistant District Attorney David Wattsfield via Zoom.
Here.
And I'm Jan Galasini, your County Clerk. Madam, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And the clerk will note when Commissioner Lucy gets back on. All right, Mr. Manager, item number 3.
Item number 3 is public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the commission agenda. The commission will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments are to be made to the commission as a whole.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Madam Clerk, do you have any public comment?
I have nobody signed in. There is one on Zoom, it
We
looks
have one
like.
on Zoom. Okay. We have Anne Marie Grant on Zoom.
Okay. Whenever she's ready.
Anne Marie Grant, sister of Thomas Purdy, who was hogtied by Reno police. Officers Maxwell, David Tallman, Jorge Aparicio, Christopher Good. He was then asphyxiated to death by Washoe deputies Paul Hubble, Brendan Glenn, Andre Silva, and Timothy Sanger, while still hogtied nearly 40 minutes later under the direction of Sergeant Wayne Westerland. I am certain the board and the sheriff assumed the $200 per hour extortion fee would go unnoticed. Did you actually think I was going to let that happen? Absolutely not. I am the one who alerted the media and the community about this vile attempt to stifle transparency and accountability. In sticking it on to the agenda as a consent item, the board doesn't even have to discuss consent agenda items, sort of like how you threw the settlement of my father's lawsuit on the agenda as a consent item. FYI, for members of the public listening, this is not a new tactic by your county commissioners. It's comical Balaam issued a statement that he withdrew his request for the fee as he heard his community. I call BS. He got some phone calls from this board saying we don't want the heat on us. I have no doubt you all would have passed this $200 extortion fee without discussion and with no second thoughts. If Balaam cared about transparency, he never would have suggested the $200 fee to begin with. I would like Balaam to present the documentation showing exactly how he calculated that it would cost them more to produce the record than $200 per hour. Given that would equate a full-time position with a salary of $384,000. That's 3 times Balaam's salary, by the way. Again, I call BS. And if Balaam was concerned about accountability, like all the hot air he was blowing when George Floyd was killed by cops, he wouldn't have promoted community killer cop Jason Wood, who was also arrested for DUI and cost the taxpayers money in a lawsuit. Promoting cops like Jason Wood speaks volumes to what kind of ship he's running. He also wouldn't have taken a $10,000 campaign contribution from NAVCare right before Election Day. You know NAVCare, the same medical vendor present when my brother and 2 other men were asphyxiated to death by deputies at par when you all were neglecting your duties under NRS 211.020. NAVCare, the same vendor Balaam then suggested renewing their contract to all of you, of which you did. Shame, shame, shame. And as someone whose brother was murdered by Washoe County deputies, I can attest how important obtaining those videos were in obtaining the truth. I can assure you that we did not get that from law enforcement. I honestly wish it came down to a vote so the community could see for themselves who you all really are. And that certainly isn't about the community.
Okay,
Have
thank
a
you very
good
much.
day.
Your 3 minutes are up.
Of course it is. Thanks. Have a good day.
Madam Vice Chair, we do have 5 other people signed in on Zoom.
I see that, yes.
And I would like to note for the record that Chair Lucy joined at 10:37.
Okay, thank you.
So next
All
up,
right.
we have Adrian Lowry.
Mr. Lowry, or Ms.
Hi,
Lowry.
my name is Adrian Lowry. I'm a resident of Washoe County. And I was very disappointed to see that was proposed, the $200 per hour fee for body cam footage. I feel like this body needs to at least have a plan going forward for how they're going to address police violence. And this has really shown us that after doing the bare minimum of saying, yes, we're going to allow people to see the body cam footage after we kill somebody, that there has not been any other action that I'm aware of in order to address these issues. It is not good enough to have that information after somebody is killed. We need to prevent that from happening. There needs to be a response to mental health issues that does not bring a gun into the situation. Because even if we have the most team show up to help with mental health crises, there's still a police officer there with the threat of violence and the escalation that comes along with that. I mean, when I'm not doing anything wrong and I see a police officer, I am already, in a heightened sense of anxiety. And I'm not even in many of the categories of people that are most likely to be harmed by police officers. So we need to have a way to address mental health crises without escalating it, without having a police officer there with a gun, making it more difficult for a peaceful resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Mr. Dan Purdy.
Okay, Mr. Purdy.
Excuse me. Daniel Purdy, brother of Thomas Purdy, murdered at Washoe County Jail. I'd have to agree with everyone, this $200 extortion fee. I mean, think about the people that's impacting. Does a person in your state making $9 an hour, is it even feasible for them to do that, provide housing and food for their children? I don't think so. Not many people in your state are making $140,000 plus a year. Is that fair for you to do to your community members? All we're looking for is transparency. To put a $200 fee on something is it's just extortion. You're just trying to hide something when you do something like that, let's be honest with the community. When something bad happens, we get it out there as quick as possible. That's the only way to make things change. We know bad things are going to happen. But if we just sit there and do nothing about it, that's the problem. And that's what you guys have been doing. Just sitting there on your hands, thinking, yep, it's just going to go away. People are going to forget. Nobody's going to forget. When you lose a loved one, you're never, ever going to forget. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Denise Davis.
Ms. Davis.
This is in regards to item 13, amendment number 4 to the Lake Tahoe Bike Project. The incline community is not opposed to a mobility hub. The opposition is to this specific location. The Northwood-Southwood Boulevard Loop has a high concentration of multifamily units and apartments and is already crowded with people and vehicles. How is the TTD going to deal with the neighborhood using the mobility hub for parking or with mobility hub parking overflow into the neighborhood? There's also the question of traffic being backed up and blocking the highway. I lived 1 block north of the old elementary school for 8 years and watched this occur every school day. It continues to frustrate me personally that our community has asked TTD for years for solutions for commuters from Reno or Carson City who work on the North Shore, or for summer shuttles for day trippers, and we're told there's no money, yet now there are millions of dollars for a building project. I understand grants are available for these projects, but finding funds for what we need has never seemed to be a priority. The TTD buses run nearly empty most of the time, even before COVID. For years, I've observed Hyatt employees getting on the bus at the end of their day, but no one else, including the hundreds of tourists walking right past the bus stop. The community has repeatedly asked why other sites are not being considered and get no answer. There are 2 locations in our village that used to be gas stations and are potential pollution problems. If we all care about the lake like we say we do, why aren't we cleaning up one of these sites and using it for a mobility hub? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Elena on Zoom.
Elena, you have the Zoom. Are you on?
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning to everyone. My comment is on the $200 fine per hour for the request on body cam footage, which was brought into light with no coincidence by the Washoe County Sheriff. Body cams are a very small step to any accountability within law enforcement, which we have already paid for, and therefore should be accommodated for what they are created for. Excuses that there are too many requests of body cam footage only reflects the manner in which this law enforcement conducts its power, abusively. If this equipment is already paid for, the least the department can do is use it and use it properly. This is an obvious step away from any accountability for misconduct to be taken seriously, since the word of the people is already undermined today. We have a right to how our city is organized and managed, which is why I sit here in this meeting with you today. The right to the city is not about visitation or access to space, but the ability for the people to shape the city around us in a way that works for all. This suggestion made by the Washoe County Sheriff with clear intention is something that only works for one party here, and it will never be the people. I ask you to take a step toward the people of Washoe County whose dollars pay for these tools to see the truth behind any encounter with law enforcement. Many victims' families do not have the money to even pay their rent, which has been an issue exacerbated by the pandemic. Asking families and victims to pay yet another burden to gain any justice is violent, making an answer of yes or a simple just no vote on it an inherently violent act. Please consider these words with all seriousness. I will yield my time.
Thank you, Elena.
Next up, we have Lilith Barron.
Good morning, Lilith. Miss Barron, you have the floor.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. I'm calling also just in regards to body camera footage. And I'm wondering why the commission didn't take a step toward expediting camera footage to victims. As we know, officer-involved shootings have an average of 2 years to get footage to families from DA Christopher Hicks. So I would think that if we're having anything on the agenda about body cam footage, it would be about expediting the amount of time that it's taking to get that footage to families and to the community, because it's absolutely way too much time. There are certain counties in which there is a 48-hour mandate. So I would like to see that if there is any kind of attempt at actual solidarity with the community, that you would put an agenda item on requesting the expediency of this camera footage being released. I find that it's very concerning that everyone had an entire summer of giving lip service to the community about how they would improve their relations with Black and Brown communities, as well as people directly impacted by police violence. And yet the first thing that you pass is something like this, not to mention having our jails overflowed with folks with COVID. I'm finding it very disheartening, and your attempts at diplomacy pretty false. So I would really like to see you meeting with the community on our terms to try to figure out a way that you can show any kind of solidarity with the rest of the folks that you represent and that have voted for you. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you, Miss Barron.
Next up, we have Kaylee Barnett.
Miss Barnett.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, I'm a Washoe County resident, and I am also commenting on agenda item 6G, the $200 per hour body cam footage. I understand that it has been removed from the agenda, but I still think it is important to make public comment about this. I agree with a lot of the comments that have been expressed by Lilith and by Anne Marie. I call BS as well, that I don't get why it was even an agenda item in the first place. If Sheriff Ballum wants transparency and accountability, a lot of folks cannot pay $200 per hour for body cam footage, and I agree that should be expedited. I yield my time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Barnett.
The last one we have signed in is Edward Coleman.
Mr. Coleman, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, my name's Edward Coleman, and I'm here representing the Black Caucus of Washoe County. And I'm speaking in reference to the unconscionable action of the Washoe County Sheriff's Office in requesting this $200 fee for cam footage. We all know who this will affect and who this will disenfranchise. This will disproportionately fall on Black and other minority communities in Washoe County, which have already been destabilized and otherwise impacted by the coronavirus. This request will impose an additional financial burdens on families who may have had a loved one harmed or killed by the Washoe County Sheriff's Office, in addition to the already months-long wait time families must endure to receive the footage currently. In particular, I'd like to know this. Why request this? Research on webcam footage and police behavior indicates that police change their behavior when wearing webcams to avoid oversight from their supervisors and the public. We know that the peace officers bill protects them from a lot of oversight by their supervisors. So who are they trying to protect themselves from now? My guess is it is the public. We would like to know why this request was made, and will Sheriff Balaam meet with the public stakeholders to explain his rationale? This all comes on the heels of the report since 2017 of increasing deaths in the Washoe County Sheriff's Office prisons and at a time when there's been more calls for accountability and transparency, and a failure by the Washoe County Sheriff's Office to implement the minimal oversight guidelines provided by the Gwynn report, which stressed increased accountability, and one which the Washoe County Sheriff's Office consented to participate in and implement those guidelines. We would ask that this board consider additional oversight for the sheriff and hold him to his words this past summer of seeking more accountability. Just to reiterate, the Black Caucus of Washoe County stands in opposition to this request and would like to see more accountability, and Sheriff Ballum answer to the public for this request. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman.
I have nobody else signed in.
No further, okay. With that, we have no further public comment, so we'll close public comment and bring it back to the board. Mr. Manager, item 4.
Item 4 is Commissioners and County Managers' announcements, reports, and updates to include boards and commission updates, requests for information, or topics for future agendas.
And do you have anything, Mr. Manager?
I do, Madam Vice Chair. First, I'd like to recognize some Washoe County employees who have been working diligently in our efforts to assist the Washoe County School District with its efforts to keep the schools open. As you may know, about a week ago, Chair Lucy and I attended a Washoe County School District Board of Trustees meeting. At that meeting, we committed to make available roughly 40 Washoe County employees who could assist the school district with contact tracing, making phone calls, data entry, in our efforts to mitigate closures related to COVID-19. Since that time, we've had multiple calls with the school district. I do want to recognize Quinn Korbelik, Samantha Pierce, Colby Harkins, and Heather Kerwin from the Health District, as well as many, many others. Jeff Scott, the Director of Libraries, who's helped us make employees available to assist the school district with making these calls and data entry. So I would like to point that out and once again thank all who have been involved in that effort. As far as our agenda for the day, we are pulling, the sheriff has requested that we pull item 6G, which is the body cam fee, subject to further review and internal development. Item 13, which is the TTD board issue, is also being pulled as they've decided to do more public meetings and also a review by the TTD board. And item 21 is being pulled. It has not completed risk management review.
Okay, thank you. I see Commissioner Herman signed in.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I just had a comment on the body cam fee. I know there's a kind of an implored or just the attitude about why people are objecting to the fee to cover, to pay to get that footage. I think just a comment that I will make here. I believe that if anybody followed one of these policemen or sheriff's deputies through a day by use of looking at the footage, they would find that 99 9/10% of the day was successful in furnishing safety and all the things that we expect from our policemen. They are very brave. They go out like firemen. They are taking their life in to protect us. And I just wanted to state that because I just don't feel like the attack on the people
False.
that are trying to save our lives is necessary at this time. So that
They're not like firemen. Firemen just.
Can you shut that down, please?
Never says a word in.
I'm sorry, nobody gets to speak from public right now. We've closed public comment. Thank you, Commissioner Herman, I appreciate it, and although we know bad things do happen, we also know that the Sheriff's Department is out helping us and watching over us and taking care of us every day, so we appreciate everything that they do. Commissioner Jung, I see you have signed in. Commissioner Jung?
Hi, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I agree with the sentiment that our public servants are doing largely the best they can when they can, but I also agree that rather than taking that on blind faith, these body camera footage should be available to the public at a cost that reflects the actual pulling of the data. Ultimately, this is not our decision as a board. That is the decision of the elected official, the sheriff. Hence the reason why it was pulled, should have never been on the agenda to begin with. And so I wholeheartedly agree with what the commenters have said, and I think we do need to take a good look at all of our government systems, not just first responders, to make sure that everything we say we do, we can prove that we do, rather than asking people to accept it on faith. That's just not the way that we as patriots work. We know that. Every single one of us are questioners. That's why we're up here. So I come on it from a different perspective on this, and I do believe there's great people in all these positions, and there's always people who aren't so great, and we don't want them anywhere near any of our citizens where we have any authority, and I believe that of the other elected officials as well. So that's I don't have any other updates, Madam Chairwoman, just to let you know where I stand on that issue as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jung. Very valid points. Chair Lucy.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I do appreciate it. I do want to make a quick update. I have chosen to stay at my private residence in my private office today and attend the meeting due to travel recently and our rising numbers with the COVID pandemic. I feel it's of public safety necessity to take myself and quarantine myself for a 14-day period to make sure that I am not a participant adding to the problem, yet helping reduce the problem. I do want to say thank you, Madam Vice Chair, for running the meeting for us today. It is always difficult to do these things in kind of a disjointed manner, but I do appreciate you being able to do that for me. Secondly, I want to thank the staff. As Manager Brown pointed out earlier, we did stand in front of the Washoe County School District Board of Trustees a week ago offering our assistance. I do want to thank Manager Brown and all the staff for helping put together a plan to assist them through the pandemic. We know that this is not the silver bullet. This will not address all the issues as we have continued to see the pandemic rise. But we want to be a community partner in the best of our abilities, and we are working with that. One thing we are still trying to address is increased testing for the school district through a number of different avenues, and hopefully we'll have some resolution to that soon. I look forward to continuing to have the conversation about the pandemic, but as I took the last week and traveled, I spent time looking at different places throughout the country. And I have to say that, we as a society need to do a better job of controlling ourselves in regards to this pandemic. This pandemic is a virus knows no person, no name, no boundary. And if we are going to choose to be nonchalant and not approach this as adults, we are going to continue to see these numbers climb. And it's frustrating to me for people that I understand choosing not to wear a mask. I understand, but don't make it an issue for all those, because businesses are suffering, other individuals are suffering because we choose to be reckless. And our hospitals are full. we are challenged to maintain and keep up. We have seen a tenfold spike from our cases just over 2 or 3 months ago. And it's frustrating when individuals just choose to be, but there's also a common sense way approaching this as well. So if you are sick, please stay home. Please wash your hands, practice the 3 S's, safe distancing, understanding what's going on. Please educate yourself in regards to what's out there and not be a spreader, but possibly a part of the solution. So with that, Madam Chair, I will relinquish. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Lucy. We appreciate everything that you and the manager have been doing with COVID. Of course, it is a tough time for all of us, and so we appreciate everything you're doing. Commissioner Hartung. Okay. And I actually, just other than to say thank you to our staff for all the work they're putting in and the leadership of our county manager, I just want to say thank you very much. And please, let's continue to move forward and heed Chair Lucy's advice to wear masks and social distance. So with that, we will close item 4 and move to item 5. Commissioner Hartung, item 5 is donations. Would you take that for us?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Forgive me if I stumble. I'm trying to work through a toothache here. Item 5 is donations. The recommendation is to accept the donations of $12,015 from various businesses, organizations, and individuals retroactive to the date of receipt for regional parks and open space programs and facilities, and direct the Comptroller's Office to make the appropriate budget amendments. It's for all commission districts. So thank you for all of those donations. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is that in the form of a motion?
That is the form of a motion, yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment on this item?
I have nobody signed in.
All right, seeing no public comment, we will bring this back for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, we will move on to the consent agenda. Mr. Manager.
Item 6 is for possible action as consent items. And Madam Vice Chair, would you like me to read 6A through 6H?
Oh, no, you don't need to do that. Commissioners, do any of you want to pull anything from the consent agenda?
Just thought I'd ask.
Chair Lucy or Commissioner Jung?
No, thank you, Madam.
All right, seeing none of that, we do remember that we have pulled item 6G, so the motion needs to reflect that. Do we have any public comment on anything in the consent agenda?
I see nobody signed in.
Okay, no Zoom, so I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Hartung.
Thank you. Motion to approve the consent agenda, noting that item 6G has been pulled. So that would be item 6A through 6H
All right.
on our agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And with that, we will move on to a block vote. And Commissioner Hartung, are you going to do that for us?
Yes, I'd be happy to, Madam Chair. Again, thank you for the indulgence. I propose that we put item 7 with Rob Pierce, item 8, item 9, item 10, item 11, 12. We have pulled item 13, item 14, item 15, item 16, item 17, item 19, item 20. We have also pulled 21, items 22, 23, and 24, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, would you read those for us?
Certainly. Item 7 is a recommendation to approve the appointment of a Washoe County Board of Adjustment applicant to represent Commission District 5. generally includes the areas of Verdi, North Valleys, Cold Springs, Warm Springs, portions of the Sun Valley, and all the high desert planning area extending to the Oregon border. To fill a term beginning on January 1st, 2021, and ending on June 30th, 2024, or until such time as the appointee no longer serves on the Board of Adjustment for a successor is appointed, whichever occurs first. Applicants include Ashlyn S. Ely, Rob Pierce, David Salinger, and Vernon S. Walagora. Item 8 is a recommendation to award a bid and approve the agreement to the lowest responsible bidder for the 75 Court Street and 2020 parking garage elevator modernization project. Staff recommends Coke elevator in the amount of $1,113,349.81. Base bid plus $18,561 for after-hours work at 75 Court Street, and approve a separate contingency amount of $36,706.32 for a total project amount of $1,168,617.13, and direct the Comptroller's Office to make the necessary cross-functional budget appropriation transfers. Net impact to the county budget is 0. Item number 9, I won't read the entire item, but it is a recommendation to affirm acceptance of real property APNs 021-030-09, 021-030-13, 021-030-15, and 021-020-10 located within the unincorporated Washoe County, which contains certain portions of the southeast connector, totaling approximately 166,804 acres and 1,346 linear miles, as identified in the approved 2014 interlocal cooperative agreement approving RTC program of projects, and adopt 7 resolutions accepting real property for use as a Washoe County public street associated with 7 official plats as listed below. And you can see those are R63, R64, R62, R66, R67, and R68. 7 resolutions at this time. Okay, item number 10 is a recommendation to reject all bids for the Washoe County Sheriff's Office Isolation Cell conversion project pursuant to NRS 338.1385 6D. Item number 11 is a recommendation to approve amendment number 2 to a memorandum of understanding, a contract between the state of Nevada acting by and through its Department of Conservation and Natural Resources and Washoe County, a public subdivision of the state of Nevada acting by and through its Community Services Department, Regional Parks and Open Space, to extend the funding arrangement on State Question 1, projects retroactively from June 30th, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, and if approved, authorize Assistant County Manager Dave Solaro to execute the amendment. Item number 12 is a recommendation to award and bid and approve the agreement to the lowest responsible bidder for the Our Place Permanent Modular Installation Project. Staff recommends Facilities Management, Inc. in the amount of $181,180 and approve a separate $7,000 project contingency amount for a total project amount of $188,180, and direct the comptroller to make the cross-functional budget appropriation transfers. Net impact to the county budget is 0. Item number 14 is a recommendation to approve the add-on sales and renewal agreement between Washoe County Health District and Patagonia Health to provide an electronic health record practice management system for the Community and Clinical Health Services Division via a subscription service, and the total amount of $484,443.48 for a 5-year term for the period retroactive to October 22nd, 2020 through October 21st, 2025, with automatic renewal for an additional 5 years unless Washoe County Health District notifies Patagonia Health in writing by September 22nd, 2025, to either terminate the agreement or discuss new terms. Item number 15 is a recommendation to approve budget amendments totaling an increase of $5,144,530 in both revenue and expense for coronavirus relief funds in support of the Health District's coronavirus response efforts retroactive to March 1st, 2020 through December 30th, 2020, and direct the Comptroller's Office to make the appropriate budget amendments. Item number 16 is a recommendation to accept the Coronavirus Relief Fund or CARES Act subgrant award from the State of Nevada Governor's Finance Office in the amount of $162,650, no county match, retroactive from March 1st, 2020 to December 30th, 2020, to provide furniture, linens, appliances, and soft construction items in Building 8B on the Washoe County Human Service Agency's Our Place campus. Authorize the Director of the Human Services Agency to execute the subgrant award and related documents, and direct the Comptroller's Office to make necessary budget amendments. Item number 17 is a recommendation to approve agreements between Washoe County and Churchill County, Douglas County, Elko County, Esmeralda County, Eureka County, Lander County, Lyon County, Mineral County, Modoc County, Pershing County, and Story County for forensic pathology services provided by the Washoe County Regional Medical Examiner's Office for a period of up to 3 years effective retroactively on July 1st, 2020. Item number 19. Yes, item number 19 is a recommendation and possible action to ratify a declaration of emergency issued on November 17, 2020 by Washoe County Manager Eric Brown to a natural-made events and circumstances surrounding the Pine Haven Fire in southern Washoe County around the area known as Cullen Ranch, with which emergency was terminated on December 2nd, 2020 by the county manager. Item number 20 is a recommendation to approve the reimbursement of costs incurred by the City of Reno, City of Sparks, Departments of Washoe County, and Washoe County School District for expenses related to and in support of the Enhanced 911 Emergency Response System and portable event recording devices, and recommended by the 911 Emergency Response Advisory Committee on November 19, 2020, in the amount not to exceed $199,887.30, as specified within the adopted 911 funds operating budget. Item number 22 is a recommendation to approve the sole source purchase of Cortex XDR endpoint protection solution licensing 3-year term through ePlus Inc. in an amount not to exceed $423,632. Item number 23 is a recommendation to approve the acceptance of Assembly Bill 4, AB 4, funds as a subgrant award from the Office of the Secretary of State in the amount of $439,131, no match required, for the purpose of covering emergency costs for the 2020 general election. The subaward period is retroactive for expenditures incurred between the dates of August 3rd, 2020 and December 1st, 2020. If approved, direct the Comptroller's Office to make the necessary budget adjustments. And item number 24 is a recommendation to approve the acceptance grant funds awarded by the Center for Tech and Civil Life, a nonprofit organization tax exempt under Internal Revenue Code Section 501c3 in the amount of $277,479 for the purpose of planning and operationalizing a safe and secure 2020 general election. No match required. The award period is retroactive for expenditures incurred between the dates of June 15, 2020 and December 31st, 2020. If approved, direct the Comptroller's Office to make the necessary budget adjustments.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Is there any public comment on any of these items, Madam Clerk?
I have nobody signed in. I do have a question about item 7. It's to appoint somebody, and nobody was recommended.
I believe that the motion included appointing Rob Pierce.
Okay, thank you for the record.
Yes. Okay. Any comments from any of the commissioners? We have no public comment, and I see no comments from any of the commissioners. So we will bring it to the board for a vote. All those, we have a motion from Commissioner Hartung, correct?
Yes?
Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second from Commissioner Herman. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. And with that, we will go back to item 18. And Mr. Chair, do you want to start this? How are we going to, since this is, item 18 is a recommendation to conduct a performance evaluation of Washoe County Manager, and I'm reading this so he doesn't have to read it himself. Washoe County Manager Eric Brown, including a discussion of the results of the 2020 Performance Feedback Survey and adoption of priorities and expectations for the county manager, discussion and possible action to increase the county manager's base salary by a percentage or by an amount certain, effective retroactive to November 25th, 2020, and to provide a lump sum bonus to be paid in pay period 1 of 2021. Discussion and possible action to approve or an amendment to the county manager's employment agreement and dated October 22nd, 2019, to extend the agreement for an additional year to November 25th, 2022, and to amend Section 6, dues and subscriptions, to add a term providing for an increase in annual funding in the county manager's office budget of $3,000 for a total of $10,700 to be used as an educational or personal development fund by the office of the county manager. And if approved, authorize the chair to sign the amendment and direct the Comptroller's Office and Human Services Resources to make all necessary adjustments. So, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I appreciate that.
Yes.
If you don't mind, I'll jump in there.
Absolutely.
Walk over top of you. I didn't mean, I apologize. It's, like I said, a little clunky with this. We, as many of you know, we do this every year with the manager. The Board of County Commissioners will sit and evaluate the manager on their performance, the review of the county and their role within the organization. Patricia Hurley and I work together with the Human Resources, and a county manager's performance evaluation was sent out. And we broke that evaluation up into many different, into different segments. The county commissioners were able to provide a detailed review based upon questions we've put together. Also, members of direct reports and department heads were also able to provide input. And then we also queued members of the public that participate and interact with Manager Brown over the last 12 months for some feedback. Now, Madam Vice Chair, is Patricia Hurley with us via Zoom today?
She's actually here in the chambers, and so we will bring her to the dais.
Ms. Hurley, thank you. Ms. Hurley, can you walk us through the manager's performance evaluation, please?
I sure will. Good morning, Commissioners. Patricia Hurley, Washoe County Human Resources. For the record, I am here today to discuss the County Manager Brown's 2020 performance evaluation. How does this clicker work? Sorry, I'm trying to get this clicker. Oh, it's got to be, is it on?
Would you get
There
a
we
little...
go. Section 9.c of the current employment agreement between Washoe County and County Manager Brown requires that each year prior to or nearest possible to the start of date of his contract, the Board of County Commissioners will review and evaluate Manager Brown's performance in accordance with the provisions of the open meeting law. NRS 241.033 requires that written notification is given to Manager Brown of the time and place of the meeting at least 5 working days before the meeting. It is also required that written notice of a list of general topics will be handed to him so that he knows what will be discussed. So to give you the timeline, on September 23rd, 2020, just as Chair Lucy said, Human Resources was notified that County Manager Brown and the chair discussed and mutually agreed on his performance feedback surveys, the internal and external stakeholders to be invited as part of these surveys, and that this will all take place today at December 8th's board. October 13th, 2020, in accordance with NRS 241.033, Human Resources formally notified County Manager Brown that the board would be reviewing his performance and professional competence as the Washoe County Manager at this meeting. October 14th, 2020 through October 30th, 2020, the performance feedback surveys were distributed. Just as a reminder, all responses were anonymous. As Chair Lucy stated, survey was given to 4 targeted groups with specific questions to each of those groups. As you can see, there were 34 individuals who were invited to participate in the performance feedback survey. 28 participants responded. That gave us an 83% response rate. A high or acceptable survey response rate is important to ensure the results are representative of the target sample and that the questionnaire is performing as intended. As you can see, the numbers are listed below for the individual groups that were targeted of the 4. Department heads and elected officials. The participant list was targeted to those department heads and elected officials who worked most closely during the 2020 emergent issues with County Manager Brown. While the participants in each of the 4 targeted groups were asked questions specific to their issues, every group was asked 3 questions in the areas such as leadership, work ethic and integrity, and communication. The combined results are presented here. As you can see, County Manager Brown met or exceeded expectations in these 3 areas. Every participant was asked to rate County Manager Brown's overall performance. The combined result is a 93%, stating that he met or exceeded expectations. They were also asked to provide comments for overall success and/or area for growth. In attachment B in your board item, you will see that you will find those comments on page 24, 34, 44, and 54. The next step will be is that Manager Brown will present his goals and accomplishment. Before he begins, is there any questions on the performance feedback survey?
Commissioners, any questions of Ms. Hurley?
Okay.
Okay, I'm seeing none, so we will turn the podium over to Manager Brown.
Okay, I will be available if there is any throughout this process.
All right, thank you. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you, Director Hurley. Okay. I'll try to be as brief as possible because honestly, I'm not used to talking about myself in terms of accomplishments. It's not something I'm very comfortable with, but I understand the need to do so for the record. The past year, I think it's an understatement to say, has been one of unprecedented innovation. It's been forced in many ways by the pandemic and the need to galvanize the organization, work with our regional partners in order to be effective moving forward. I am very thankful that the leadership of the county organizations, our department heads, as well as the elected officials in the area have embraced me and allowed me to work very closely with them, and for that I'm very grateful. Let's talk about COVID response. We, over the last year, took a lead role in the regional establishment of the Incident Management Team, or IMT, working with the Health District City of Reno, City of Sparks, as well as our law enforcement and public safety agencies, hospitals. We also were able to put together a beefed up regional information center, which became very important to make sure that there's consistent messaging about what's going on with the pandemic and what our response should be across the jurisdictions, which can be a little tricky sometimes. You can see that we had multiple media briefings, press releases, as well as town halls and other events. In fact, I think our next event is coming up in about a week on the local broadcast stations to talk about where we are with the pandemic, the seriousness of our hospital situation. These events would not be possible if we were not coordinating with our regional partners, and that has been a big area of focus for me and for the team. As far as financial management, we've executed regional cost share agreements for COVID response, again, with our partners here in the region. And that's enabled us to put together an effective response and to address issues such as homelessness, alternative housing and care sites, et cetera. And we've been holding internal review committee meetings to review internally how we're spending our dollars and with an eye towards making sure that those expenditures are prudent and responsible given the pandemic that we face. We've managed a balanced CARES funding budget of $20.2 million. When I say balanced, I think you're going to get a report on this at the next meeting on the 15th. But we've received compliments actually from the state legislature and other state agencies for how Washoe County, the approach that we took in terms of how we've spent our money on the public interest. Let's talk about innovations for a little. Washoe County has moved to a digital environment in many, many ways. We're now a telecommuting organization. We made this move as the pandemic began to hit us in February, allowing many of our employees to work remotely where appropriate. This helped to keep them safe, as well as we're finding it actually can be beneficial in terms of workforce productivity. And we think that's a fiscally responsible model for the future. We will continue to look for ways to use technology to serve our citizens better and also to provide services more efficiently. Digital improvements have taken place across the county organization. You can see in the courts, we've moved to virtual hearings and other arraignments and meetings. We have a virtual court calendar. You can see within our CSD department, building permits and drawings are now submitted online, which we were not doing before. Which has been very beneficial for us, as well as many inspections are able to be conducted online as well. Countywide communications. We held our first ever countywide virtual meeting. We learned a lot in doing that. In fact, it was so well attended, it actually the network actually failed. So we learned that we needed to do some upgrades to our infrastructure in order to support the level of virtual meetings and communications that are taking place. And though I'm happy to say that as we close the calendar year, those items have been addressed. And I'll come back to that in a second. But we're broadly using Microsoft Teams across the organization for virtual meetings, as well as Zoom, which we're using obviously for BCC meetings and other external meetings. And then I can't say enough about our technology services group. They've expanded the use of seamless docs as well as other hardware and software technologies that have allowed us to not only support our employees who are working remotely, but also the health district as it has expanded in terms of its needs for serving the public. New ways of serving our citizens. So with regards to animal services, we just launched a drive-through pet event and vaccine clinics. New development, that new way of being able to reach out to our folks. We're implementing appointments for in-person services in multiple departments online so that, again, we can keep people safe by not having congregate lines and queuing here in our facilities. People can make an online appointment, come in and see us and get their business taken care of. I want to applaud once again the library system, which has utilized reservations and drive-through pickup services, as well as community programming in the virtual environment. We are in the process, as you know, of going further in terms of updating and improving our ability to reach out to our communities. That will start with our community advisory boards, the CABs, in terms of restructuring and changing the scope. We've heard from you, we've heard from many of our constituents and businesses in the area, and you will see us continue to move in that direction. Wait a minute. Obviously, we just went through primary and general elections, and because of the pandemic, we had to think about new ways of meeting the needs of the public there. As you all know, we did an all mail-in ballot general election that was very well executed by our registrar of voters office. But again, this was a group effort that involved tech services, the office of the county manager, our communications group, to make all of this work as well as it did. We were able to support same-day voter registration and implement some new technologies, a very popular wait time app that helped the public understand how long the lines were at various polling places, as well as ballot tracks so that people could track the status of their ballot and whether or not it had been received, as well as the results reporting dashboards. I'm going to talk about the health district for a second. This is a department that has grown tremendously over the last year in terms of scope as well as number of employees. As an organization, we've supported the health district with a lot of automation using our Excella platform to help facilitate COVID-19 testing and reporting of results. And we also set up a call center. If you stop and think about that, that is no small undertaking, but we were able to do that to help the health district handle the call volumes from the public calling to find out information about testing or their results. The vaccination, as we move forward, we're anticipating setting up scheduling and reporting for vaccination efforts as well. We've done this now for the COVID-19 testing, and that gives us a lot of confidence that we can move forward the same with regards to the vaccinations. I mentioned earlier in the manager's comments, we're assisting the Washoe County School District with contact tracing and IT support. Again, as of this morning, it looks like we had about 42 county employees that are being repurposed. Either they were on paid leave or being underutilized to assist the school district with their calling out and data input needs. And we've upgraded, as I said, our network infrastructure so that we can better support the health district as well as other things that we're doing. Now, at the 6-month review that I shared with you, one of the things that I indicated that would be an area of focus would be improving our human resource management. I've been working very closely with Director Hurley and her team to improve our ability to support our supervisors and managers in the organization with appropriate training. My observation, again, has been This is an organization that historically rewards tenure, which is fine, and technical competency. But if you move into a position where you're now managing people, we have not necessarily supported you with the appropriate training around how do you manage people and how do you manage organizations. That's something that we're going to continue to work on. I am very pleased to report to you this morning that we've had a renewed focus just on getting the performance reviews done. A year ago, as you can see, there were about 4 departments that were exceeding 85% compliance in terms of the number of performance reviews they were doing within their departments. If you look at the lower bullet point, you can see we're up to about 13 or 14 departments now. So folks are getting the message. We're making great progress in terms of making sure that we're doing a good job of giving our employees feedback on their performance and frankly, how their supervisors are doing in managing them. And we will continue to focus on that in the year ahead. Community services, these are internal initiatives. You can see the launch of the Envision Washoe 2040 Master Plan update, as well as our All-Star program. We've been building our website. Our website has been updated for digital process improvements. We'll continue to make those improvements. And you can see some of the communications initiatives that we've been focused on, including the coffee with the county manager. That was the first town hall where we broke the system, but we've since been able to upgrade it. Homelessness. Obviously, this is a big issue for this region. Over the past year, we actually launched the Built for Zero regional effort with the help of the Health District, which actually funded the initial outlay. But we're now working with our counterparts in Reno and Sparks in a more coordinated fashion to address how we address that. We're working with Grant Denton and his Karma Box organization to work on river cleanup. As well as recently, as you all know from the concurrent meeting we held a couple of weeks ago, we now have a cost share agreement for the men's shelter with our regional partners and our progress on Our Place campus for women and families. So this will continue to be an area of focus, obviously. We expect that the homeless populations will continue to grow as the pandemic continues and as more folks are finding themselves either evicted or not able to make rent and mortgage payments. I do want to point out a couple of efforts that took a lot of time. I don't know that they would necessarily be seen as a universally popular initiatives, but we did reach out to Incline Village and we were able to achieve a settlement. And in the North Valleys, we did bring the unincorporated town concept to the ballot. Now, it didn't pass, but I think it's important to note that as staff, we look for opportunities to bring forward those initiatives that need action. Action can be approved or not approved, but you all have heard me say on multiple occasions, you're not paying me to have a political opinion. You do pay me to make sure that we're framing the issues and providing the information that you need to make prudent decisions. And I think these are 2 examples of initiatives that where that occurred. And then I'll finish with just an acknowledgement of some recent awards that have been bestowed upon the organization. And I don't personally take credit for these because there's so many wonderful employees within this county that are doing great things in the community. My job is to acknowledge their efforts and try to make sure that they have the resources to continue to flourish and with the skills that they do. As we look towards the future, you've seen this slide before. I shared it at the 6-month mark. these are the areas that I plan to continue to focus upon. I'm happy to have conversations with any of you one-on-one about any additional initiatives that you think may make sense. But I think the year ahead will be one of stabilization as we come out of the pandemic, hopefully get a vaccination. I don't know that we have seen the true economic impact of COVID at this point. And I think we have to be cautious moving forward in terms of our budgeting and our expectations as a county and as an organization. But there are many things that we can do to make sure that we're improving our operational performance. So with that, I will wrap it up. And are there any questions, I guess? Am I allowed to take questions? Okay.
Mr. Brown, thank you so much. That was a very good summary of all the craziness we've dealt with and how effectively you have handled it, and I certainly appreciate your leadership and your guidance. And with that, I have Commissioner Herman signed in, so I'll go with her first.
No, I thought it was.
Yeah, it's on.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, it is. All right. So I think one of the best things we have done as commissioners here has been to hire you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
I have enjoyed a year of working with someone who has always got a wonderful attitude, always willing to help, making me look better with my constituents at times, giving the time and the effort that you've given to them. It's so appreciated. And I want you to know that we have watched you during this year. And if it were me, I would have hidden under something. I'd have left town. You know, I just could not have even imagined being successful at all in any of the things that have attacked us this year. We have been under attack for definitely. And in my book, you passed every test with flying colors.
Thank you.
I'm just so impressed with your ability to work with everyone in this community the way you have, coming in fresh and new. And everybody that I talk to has most ultimate respect for you, sir. And I look forward to this coming year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Herman. Any, Commissioner Hartung? Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Manager, if I may, Eric, you have done an exemplary job. I've appreciated your approach. I love your poker face. It's amazing how you can go into some of the most contentious situations and not get rattled. You've done a great job. I've said on a number of occasions that the bad thing was that you had no real municipal experience, and the great thing is that you had no municipal experience. You have thought out of the box continuously, not bound by years of governmental training, which is amazing. It's a real credit to you and your leadership skills and your ability to work through complex situations and come up with good solutions that are tenable and that can be embraced by all the municipalities. That's a hard thing to do. It is not easy to get everybody on board, and your approach has, again, not gone unnoticed by me. And I'll call it a non-confrontational approach. You have diffused a number of situations that could have whirled out of control. Great job. I could not be more pleased with you. I'm happy to have you here at this time. I cannot imagine the pressures that are pushing on you, on your team. And with respect to your team, I have great admiration for how you have allowed them to do their jobs and not micromanage them. So I know you're a very humble fellow, and it's difficult to stand and get praise, but I think that you've done just an amazing job. And again, you've listened to your team, you've allowed them to make comments, you allowed them to flourish. If you thought that they weren't doing the right thing, you've kind of guided them. So I'm pleased. I'm genuinely pleased, and thank you for the hard work, because this has not been an easy time. Baptism by fire, as they say, sir. That has been the rule of the day here for you. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Hartung. Commissioner Jung.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and thank you, Mr. Brown, for suffering through this public evaluation. That's the way we have to do it in government, and it would make me uncomfortable as well. But it needs to be stated on the record how important it is. If you look at the scores you got from the Board of Commissioners, it's all meets or exceeds expectations, and I'm certainly in that group, since it all is that. And it's a rarity for this board, and it is something I want you to really enjoy and bask in, the tremendous amount of work that we've seen you put out. And as Commissioner Herman said, I mean, I don't know how many people would have taken your job with the foresight of what happened soon after of being in this job. So I think that we were incredibly fortuitous that you applied for this position, and you earned your position, and you have exceeded the expectations that this commissioner ever had. And I want to tell you, keep working hard, and know that, you know, what's most important for me is that we are successful as a board, and we are only as successful as a board as our county manager is as the carrier-outer of all the operations. So I think you've done that very pristinely, and I have always been of the mind, no matter where you've worked for, if your resume and your experiences come through, you can do any job that we put in front of you. And I truly believe that about you. And that is one of the highest compliments I think anybody can get. I know that I could give you anything and you would figure it out. And that gives me a great deal of faith and comfort in your leadership. So, sir, I commend you, and I'm so, so, so grateful that you are a part of this community, and that your family has become a part of this community, and that you have shown that you not only can walk the walk and talk the talk, you also get results for us. And that's number one for me. So I thank you, sir, and I thank the wisdom of this board as well for really enabling you to unleash all of these talents that you brought to the table. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Jung. Chair Lucy.
Yes, Madam Vice Chair, would you like me to go last, or would you like to go?
I will go first, and then you can go last. That's certainly fine.
Yeah, because I have some details I'd like to add to the process as well.
Okay, so Mr. Brown, Eric, this has been the most trying year, and yet one of the best years of working with somebody who has such leadership skills. One of the things that I really wanted for the county and the two cities when I first got elected 8 years ago was to see a regionalization where we all work together, and you have really led that that whole program and gotten everybody together. I sat on CHAB on Monday, and I was so pleased to hear the electeds from the city of Sparks and the city of Reno say that they've never seen us as a team work together better than we have. And I put a lot of that right at you, because I know you're a team builder. I know that you let people have their say, and then you logically and work with them to kind of make it all good and make all of us work together well. And so I know those are skills that you had, and I'm so pleased that you decided to join us here. And I'm sorry for how horrible this year's been. But it's been an education. That's what I keep telling myself, is that we've learned an awful lot this year. And your guidance and your leadership has really helped in so many ways. And so thank you. Thank you so much. And it's been a great pleasure for me to work with you once again. And I may be leaving this commission, but I am not going away. So I hope to still be able to spend time and work with you on issues that are important to our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Chair Lucy.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I do appreciate that. Manager Brown, I had hoped to do this in person with you, and I apologize about not being there face to face, but you and I have spent the last 12 months together face to face quite frequently, so I think you'll probably forgive me for not being with you today. However, as the other commissioners have pointed out, we sent this survey out to 34 individuals throughout the county, whether they were direct reports, department heads, county commissioners, or external stakeholders. And out of the 28 respondents, we saw an overwhelmingly response rate of exceeding expectations. 93% exceeded expectations. I will be the first to say on public record, I was one of the largest critics upon the interview process over a year ago, based upon the discussions that Commissioner Hartung had brought up earlier of the lack of municipal experience. But allowing myself the 12 months to experience that with you and be alongside of you for the last 12 months, and also reflect back to the first year in which I was elected, not having any municipal or government experience coming from the private sector, I felt it gave me a unique perspective, as it has given for you. It has been a pleasure and an honor to serve alongside of you for the last 12 months, through natural disasters, through a pandemic, through a very tumultuous and challenging election season, through times of civil unrest within our community. You have brought a true understanding of a leader, of a calm demeanor, a guiding light, a true principle of ideals, a manager who truly is not one to just appease all, but truly bring forth the guiding principles that take an organization from good to great. You have been committed to this from day one, and dedicated to the extent, as Vice Chair Burke-Bigler brought up, you have relocated your family from a different state. You made this your home, your residence. You have tirelessly put in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, a commitment to your post, and I commend you for that. I think that with all of that being said, your dedication to the job is tremendous. And I, sir, am a true believer of your talents and your extenuating, the extenuating circumstances in which you had to rise to the occasion are unbelievable. And continuously, day after day, very frequently, I get told how wonderful it is to work with you by a number of individuals continuously, how you are such a breath of fresh air, how your perspective is so, and from this commissioner, you provide a sense of calm to me in times of challenge and uncertainty. When I feel lost without a path forward, you have given me that guiding principle. And that's what I look for in a colleague, a partner, and a manager of your caliber. So, sir, I thank you and I commend you for the last 12 years of your service with us. 12 months of your service with us. It feels like 12 years, geez. We've been doing it, it seems like, time in, time out, but you have been truly somebody to be honored. And I want to thank you for your service over the last year. With that, I'd like to move into like the next part of this, based upon the establishment of the survey results and the discussions had by myself and Ms. Hurley and Human Resources. I'd like to make the following recommendations to the board, and I'd like to outline why I would like to make those recommendations. At this time, I would like to make sure that we do extend Mr. Brown's employment agreement beyond an additional 12 months beyond the November 25th, 21 term. So it would move his term on to November 25th of 2022. So we would be adding another 12 months to his term to make that a full 3-year contract for Mr. Brown. I would like to recommend that we increase his salary by 10% over its current current rate based upon the survey results, and make that effective November 25th, 2020, of the anniversary date of his hire. I would also like to discuss an annual performance bonus as appropriate. Now, with that being said, these are all public numbers and all these different discussions. As many of the commissioners said, this is a very challenging discussion. Mr. Brown currently, at his current pay rate, is roughly about 10% lower than his peers between Reno, Sparks, and Clark County. Mr. Brown manages a $500 million budget along with 24 different departments and roughly over 2,700 employees here in Washoe County. Through that, it would not be, in my opinion, a salary increase or raise. I would like to consider it as a salary adjustment or alignment with his peers within the region and across the state. Mr. Brown has performed an exemplary status in regards to that. I think it would be just to pay him what is adequate for this position across the state of Nevada. I also feel that adjustment is nominal when you look at the actual dollars and cents of the adjustment to really what the overall budget in which he oversees. I also would like to discuss with the board an increase of dues and subscriptions for his office, so that at Mr. Brown's discretion, he can and would allow for members of his staff and himself to either participate in either educational and personal development through at his discretion, and recommend that amendment. One of the other things I'd like to discuss and bring forward to the board, as our sister county in the south, Clark County, does, Mrs. Yolanda King, who is the Clark County manager currently, every year is up for an adjustment of her salary of up to 12.5%. That 12.5% is at the discretion of the board. That does usually include a COLA increase, but allows for, at the discretion of the board, to give them a bonus and a pay increase on those amounts. Those are some of the discussions I'd like to bring forward to the board for discussion today at this time. But those would be my discussions and my comments. Thank you, Mr. Brown, and Madam Vice Chair, I will turn it back over to you for your guidance.
Thank you, Chair Lucy. I am very supportive of what you're proposing. I think these are excellent suggestions, and I would open it to the commissioners, the other commissioners, to chime in if they have some additional things they would like to see. If you're looking at a bonus, do you have thoughts on what you think we should put forward on that? I believe that's in the a lump sum bonus, or as well as a salary increase. So, Commissioner Herman.
I would agree with everything that the Chair Lucy has presented in today's speech.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Any other thoughts, comments? Commissioner Hartung.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the chair said that we would extend Mr. Brown's contract to 22 by 1 year. Is that correct, Mr.
Yes.
Chair?
That would be my recommendation, to extend the current contract an additional 12 months to November of 2022.
Okay.
So technically, it would be a 2-year contract
Yeah.
from this point, because we're in
I thought we had a
2020.
2-year contract to begin with, so his contract doesn't expire until 21.
That's correct.
And then we go.
So
we go
we're
on
extending it
to-
now.
To 22.
Yeah.
My only suggestion at this point would be to take that to 23, give him, do it in 2-year lumps is, I mean, I have no issue with that.
That works for me.
I'm not in favor of a bonus. I don't think the optics of that are good right now. I do like the idea of having parity with other managers in the region. I don't think that he's paid consistently with other managers, and I have no issue with the addition for the training and the educational and personal development fund. I have no issue with that, but those are my comments.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Jung?
Sorry, Madam Chairwoman. Yes, I agree with everything the chairman has stated on the record, and completely agree with the fact that we do live in a capitalistic society, and your salary does matter, especially when it's public, when you're working with your peers. And most importantly, I like it aligned with the budget size. And we have the largest budget in all of Northern Nevada. So I agree with the alignment and the bonus. The bonus is a way that Clark County and the other counties across the region are able to award somebody in a capitalistic society that is attached to PERS. And so this is not PERS compensatory. And that's why I'm in alignment and agreement with the chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jung. All right, well, I absolutely agree. I do think it would be appropriate to change the date to November 21st, 2023. That keeps us in the 2-year cycle. And so I think that's appropriate. So I would ask Mr. Chair that we make that change. As to the bonus, I mean, I think it's really great to consider the 10% equalization salary increase, but that's just fair and across the board. To me, a bonus, and I understand your concerns in this financial day and age, but to me, a bonus says, wow, you did a bang-up job this last year. And so to me, I think that's what a bonus says. And so I wouldn't be opposed to the concept of a bonus, flat percentage, or, I don't know how, I really have not done this enough in the county to really understand exactly how we would do that. But Mr. Chair, I would ask you on your thoughts on whether or not we put a bonus in.
Madam Chair, I do feel a bonus is due to Manager Brown. As I stated in my comments, Manager Brown came into this role with the understanding of a standard managerial county undertaking. He has been thrust into situations even seasoned managers would have a challenged time with, and has excelled. I, for one, am supportive of a bonus and would put that publicly on the record. I think he has done an exemplary job. I think he's risen to the occasion. Yes, we do find ourselves in a fiscal challenge. Now, currently under Manager Brown's contract, a bonus is a discretionary by the entire board. There is no set amount, no percentage rate, it is, I believe, up to 5%, 10%, but I believe we can make those adjustments. Now, for complete transparency, Manager Brown did receive a 2.5% COLA increase as is allowable by the contract for all Washoe County employees that did receive the same 2.5% in July. We need to acknowledge that, but I do believe his bonus is completely separate. My suggestion would be to the board that we address, if it's acceptable with the manager, a one-time lump sum bonus, maybe this go around, and then readdress this for future terms in regards to, as I stated earlier, Clark County does have a ability to, as their contract works with Mrs. King, she has up to 12% base for a bonus, and that base is combined with merit and cannot exceed 12% of her base. So, and that's including her COLA as well. So those are discussions that this board could have. My recommendations is that we do address a bonus at this time. I would recommend we do a lump sum for Manager Brown in a form of a number or a percentage, but that would be at the discretion of the board. I would recommend at least a 5% bonus.
5%?
Yes.
All right. Commissioner Jung, Mr. Brown, did you have something to add?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Jung, did you want to comment on a 5% bonus or any other level?
No, I agree. I mean, I think 5 is low, but we already have one commissioner that's not real happy about it. So I think that 5% is fair in consideration. I mean, we all want to pull the same direction, correct? And respect everybody else's position. So I think 5% is fair and just, and it takes into consideration some hesitation. I think it's respectful. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jung. Ms. Hurley, did you have something to add?
I do. I just want to make sure that you guys understand how the performance bonus is calculated. So if Manager Brown does receive the 10% adjustment to his salary, it will take up to $250,952. The bonus will then be calculated. If you take a percentage rate, will be 5% on top of that. So I kind of did a calculation in anticipation of where you guys might head. So that would be about $12,547.60.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make it clear that any bonus you give them would be on top of any adjustment you gave them if you do a percentage bonus.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Hurley. Commissioner Herman, did you have something you wanted to add?
Just thinking that since we have a discrepancy between some of the members, maybe we could split the difference and go to 7.5%.
And go what?
Go to 7.5%.
Okay.
Rather than 5 or 10.
Okay. Commissioner Hartung?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This has nothing to do with Mr. Brown's performance. It's the fact that we are in a pandemic right now. There's a lot of unknowns for us. There's a lot of unknowns for people out there, and that's the angst that I have. And so it's really just about optics. I'll agree to the 5%, but I'll agree to what the board decides. Again, I have no issue with raising his salary to bring him into parity with the other managers. There are firefighters out there who make more than Mr. Brown does. So I don't think that this is, and there are police officers out there who make more than Mr. Brown does. I'm not arguing that he is worth every penny of that. It's merely in this environment. I want to know where we are next year. That's all. I can afford to buy a new car, but I'm not going to until I kind of know where I am next year. That's kind of the analogy that I would use. So I'm going to drive my older car and just see how that goes. It's just the environment. If we were in an upswing, if COVID was not here, I would have zero hesitation.
Understand totally. Thank you, Commissioner Hartung. I understand totally. However, I do think we are in a situation where Mr. Brown's 24/7 leadership is going to be required for some time to come. And so I think it is a fair assessment to give him a bonus after the year he has put in. I question sometimes that maybe he slept more here than he has at his own home because he spent so many hours here or at EOC or over in the health district or wherever else he needed to be. So, I think we have at least one person public comment. And so let's just step back for a minute and go to public comment. So,
Madam Chair?
Yes,
if
sir.
I could just, I don't have a very easy way to interrupt, so the only thing I can do is really speak up like this.
That's
so.
okay.
There was a question that was posed by one of the commissioners, just sort of rhetorically and broadly, about what the limits were on a bonus. The contract doesn't put a limit on the amount of the increase in the annual salary, and it does not put a limit on what the bonus or pay for performance can be. So I just wanted to be clear, there's not a limit on that, there's not a minimum, there's not a maximum, there's no description.
Okay.
So it's at the board's discretion.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Mr. Wattsfield. So let's go to public comment. Madam Clerk.
We have Jamie Stetson signed in on Zoom.
Okay. Ms. Stetson, the floor is yours.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I just think with matter to like a bonus in this environment, Mr. Brown was hired to do what he was hired to do. And granted, he's had a lot more, sorry, I've been walking. He's had a lot more responsibility on his plate. But I appreciate Mr. Brown's sentiment. Commissioner, I think it was, which commissioner was it that objected to just a global increase in terms of a bonus? I can't remember which name it was, but either way, I appreciate that maybe we need to be a little more fiscally conservative in terms of spending other people's money. I don't think that at this time, considering a bonus over an increase that creates parity is appropriate. Lots and lots of people are suffering. I work in the community. I do contract work for both SRC and I do mental health work. And you don't see this across the board where people are getting bonuses in this financial environment. That's weird. Parity is one thing, bonuses is another. And I hope that that's considered. As a member of our community, I feel like it's inappropriate.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you,
Nope.
Thank you, Ms. Stetson. Any other public comment?
I have nobody else signed in.
All right, we will close public comment and bring it back to the board. And we have a motion from,
Madam Chair, yeah, can I, if you don't mind?
yes, please, go right ahead. I was just going to turn it over to you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion based upon the recommendations of the discussion on the board. I'd like to break this into two motions, if I may, or maybe not. I'll do it in one single motion.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion that, based upon the performance evaluation of Washoe County Manager Eric Brown, including the discussion results of the 2020 Performance Feedback Survey, and adoption and priorities and expectations for the county manager, that we increase Manager Brown's salary by 10%, effective retroactive to November 25th, 2020, to provide parity amongst his peers within the community and across Northern Nevada. I would recommend that we adjust his contract date an additional 24 months out to November of 2023, making it amending it from a 2-year contract to a 4-year contract. I would also recommend that, based upon his performance and survey responses and input from the general public, that we provide Manager Brown with a 5% merit bonus, one-time merit bonus based upon performance. Also, to amend item 6C of his contract under dues and subscriptions, providing for an annual funding increase to the county manager's office budget to the total of $10,000 and $700 to be used for educational and personal development fund for the county manager office.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Do I have a second?
I can live with that. Second.
Commissioner Hartung has seconded that. We've gone to public comment. All those in, any other additional discussion? Mr. Brown, anything you want to add?
Just that I'm very appreciative. Thank you very much.
Thank you. With that, we will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Brown. Good job. All right. With that, we are on to the public hearings. And so I will open up public hearings. And Mr. Brown, it's item 25.
Come on. Okay, item 25. I believe the Madam Clerk will read that item.
I will. I'm looking for an introduction. This will be bill number 1849.
Is your mic on?
Oh, probably. Maybe I'll remove this. Bill- Okay. This will be bill number 1849, an ordinance amending the Washoe County Code at Chapter 110 Development Code, Article 434, Regional Development Standards within Cooperative Planning Areas in all of Washoe County by removing all sections within the article including 434.00 Introduction, 434.05 Purpose, 434.10 Applicability, 434.15 Definitions, 434.20 Density, 434.25 Lot Adjacency, 434.30 Ridge Lines, and 434.35 Earthquake Fault Areas, and remove Article 822, provisions for amendments to local master plans and zone changes in areas subject to cooperative planning under the Regional Plan Settlement Agreement, and remove all sections within the article including 822.00 Introduction, 822.05 Purpose, 822.10 Applicability, 822.15 Definitions, 822.20 Master Plan Policies and Goals, and Zoning Amendments Criteria, 822.25 Findings for Regional Form and Pattern, including open space, 822.30 Findings for Housing, 822.35 Findings for Concurrency Timing and Phasing of Infrastructure, 822.40 Finding for Public Service Levels and Fiscal Effect, and 822.45 Findings for Open Space Resource Constraints and Cooperative Planning Considerations not elsewhere addressed, and other matters necessarily connected therewith and pertaining thereto.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any commissioners, any questions? Need some answers from Ms. Olander?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Hartung.
if I may, these are some housekeeping
Yes.
opportunities that of much needed cleanup in the code, this and both the next item. I would ask that you call for public comment, and then I'm happy to introduce bill number 1849 after that.
All right. Is there any public comment, Madam Clerk?
There is no public comment. I do need to add the second reading would be January 12th, 2021.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Hartung.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to introduce bill number 1849, and as the clerk mentioned, with the second reading and the possible adoption of the ordinance for January 12th, 2021.
Perfect. Thank you. With that, we will move on to item 26, which is another public hearing. Madam Clerk.
This will be bill number 1850, if introduced. An ordinance amending the Washoe County Code, Chapter 110, Development Code, Article 412, Landscaping to A, clarify where the standards of Article 412 apply, B, clarify the process for review of extenuating circumstances for modification of standards, C, clarify the requirements for landscaping plans, D, require water conservation measures, E, require preservation of significant trees, F, provide for greater flexibility in design of civic and commercial required landscaping, G, clarify that durable materials are required for screening fences, H, update standards for numbers of required trees, shrubs, and ground cover, I, provide standards for revegetation of disturbed areas, J, update standards for financial assurances and other matters necessarily connected therewith and pertaining thereto.
Thank you very much. And once again, this is Ms. Howenstein's issue. Do you need do any commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Hartung.
Madam Chair, I would just ask that you call public comment, and then I will be happy to introduce Bill number 1850.
Okay. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
I have nobody signed in.
All right. We will close public comment, bring it back to the board. Commissioner Hartung.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we introduce Bill number 1850 with the second reading and the public hearing and second reading of the ordinance for January 12th, 2021.
Thank you very much. And with that, we will close the public hearings, and we will move on to item 27. Mr. Manager.
Item 27 is public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the commission agenda. The commission will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments are to be made to the commission as a whole.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, do we have public comment?
We have Anne Marie Grant via Zoom.
Okay. Ms. Grant, the floor is yours.
Anne Marie Grant, sister of Thomas Purdy, murdered by Reno Police and Washoe County Sheriff's Office. Facts apparently insults to this board when it comes to law enforcement. Not surprising, the response to the community was not to respond to requests for agenda items to further transparency in the community, but to chastise us for having a voice. As much as you want to defer all culpability for the fee to Balaam, yes, ultimately the sheriff created that fee, but you are all the board that had the power to approve or deny it. Like I said, I know which way it would have gone had it come to a vote. And I'll just again remind you about your duties under NRS 211.020. I'm not sure where you got the stat of 1% interactions are bad. That's police-supported propaganda at its finest. I rely on factual data. It's a fact my brother was asphyxiated to death at the jail. It's a fact Nico Smith was also, and Justin Thompson. It's a fact there have been at least 3 in-custody deaths under Balaam's reign. I'll leave you with my brother being asphyxiated to death at the jail.
Please don't do that. Please don't do that. We're not going to work. So you're putting it down now. Pull this out. Ow! Don't you understand that we're trying to get this off of you? You gotta bend your legs or else we can't take it off you, partner. No. You can push his legs up and push his body down. You gotta work your legs, man. Ow! The other option, we can undo the cuff and just control his arms. Ow! Easier. Ow! Undo the cuffs. There we go.
If you don't understand why there's a need for transparency and accountability from law enforcement in Washoe County, shame on all of you. Goodbye.
Madam Chair, next up we have Jamie Stetson via Zoom.
Okay, Ms. Stetson, the floor is yours.
Again, I think that it is very important for this commission, you've heard it over and over from different members of our community, to remember what your place is. Your place is to serve our public. It is not to serve the sheriff's department. It is not to serve the different parts of the organization of Washoe County. It is to serve the public. When the public asks for fees or asks for these things in order to create like administrative revenue or to cover costs or whatever else, that would be one thing. But for the sheriff's department to ask for something that reduces transparency, reduces visibility, and reduces the ability for access for members of our community who are not of means to hold them accountable, or to hold even to just go ahead and see what happened from a first person perspective on video when they were arrested, when they were pulled over, whatever, is not fair to our community. And to defend that, or to defend the idea that access and transparency should not be considered because the sheriff's department, in your opinion, does a good job, is ridiculous. You are here, as well as the sheriff's department, to serve our community. I think it's really important that that stays in your minds as you do your job that you were elected to do by members of our community. I cannot even begin to express the amount of disgust as I boots on the ground, work with mental health patients, work with people with disabilities, and see that our county does not take their access. It doesn't take it personally. It doesn't take it to be a responsibility. And the statements that were made today during this meeting shows why. It's because there's a culture that is inherent, starting from our elected officials down, saying that, oh, well, we see these guys, we deal with them on a regular basis, and we think they're good guys, so the people who elected us don't count as much. That's not fair, and I hope that that is not what I hear in the future at these meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we're seeing no more public comment. We will close public comment and bring it back to the board. Mr. Manager, item 28.
Item 28 is Commissioners and County Managers' announcements, reports, and updates to include boards and commission updates, requests for information for topics for future agendas.
Do you have anything, Mr. Manager?
No, Madam Vice Chair, I do not.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, Commissioner Jung, anything additional?
No, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Great meeting.
Thank you. Chair Lucy?
Madam Chair, yeah, if I could add just one thing, I appreciate the time. I do understand, after listening to public comment today, there is quite a bit of frustration with the public in regards to different roles that we play here at the county. And hopefully what we will do is bring back for, as Commissioner Jung asked for earlier, in future meetings, discussions on how we better can provide that transparency that the general public wishes as well. We do play a role, though, to maintain a safe and secure community, and we have committed to that as a commission and as a county. And we will continue to try at our best every day to do that. The challenge, however, it's very difficult from just these public meetings, is to provide the complexity on how large this organization is and how ornate and how detailed it can be sometimes in regards to management and overall oversight. The things that we have done in this county over the last year, even through the pandemic, are often overshadowed by the negatives that are in our world. But our response to homelessness, our response to public safety issues, our response to different issues through our community in regards to capital improvements, our place, our commitment to law enforcement and public safety in our hospitals, testing, our school systems, those things sometimes are overshadowed. And it's difficult, I understand that, but I don't ever want those to ever be thrust out of the limelight, because there are a lot of good things that do happen at the county and are often not spoken of. So with that, Madam Chair, I do want to say I think the manager has done a great job. I know it's not always the easiest thing to do. I want to commend my colleagues and my board members for following in suit and supporting our manager. I think he's done a wonderful job. And I want to make sure that we continue to stay safe. As you pointed out, we are going to go into a very difficult 2021. I don't know, just because a year changed, that the situation does. So we're going to have some resiliency, and we're going to have these dynamic. And I look forward to continuing to work with this board and members of our community and everybody. I think this needs to be an inclusive discussion, not a divisive one. And I hope that people see it that way going forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chair Lucy. I appreciate your comments, wise as always. Commissioner Hartung, Commissioner Harmon, anything else? All right. In that case, we will close 28, and with that, we are adjourned. Thanks, guys.